where it's dark and we're like 6 of us carrying equipment plus the guys that are taking us to the place where they're making cocaine. And my DP, who's French, he was with his very French accent complaining. He's like, "Oh, I can't. What do I do? I can't." And complaining that he's like, we're slipping and sliding everywhere. Meanwhile, holding these like very expensive cameras and canvas bags full of gear. And we thought it was going to be, like we'll be there in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And 45 minutes later, we're still walking down this rainy path in the middle of the night with nothing, no light at all. You
we're such Americans. We're like, oh, we'll just park and then walk right over there.
That's what we thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
We'll get the closest parking spot and we'll just walk. And meanwhile, and then there's no light. And I basically have, as I have now, the phone with at the time was another photo of me and my son. And and they told us we can't use flashlights, even though we had flashlights with us, because they didn't want people around the valley to see this, because what they were doing was it could get them killed. And so I'm only using the light from the front of my phone to sort of just see where I was walking. I'm covered in mud. We get there and there's this pit, enormous pit. It's like a Olympic-sized pool pit with all the drugs, all the cocaine leaves being mixed with products that then it stays like this for days, and then they sort of bring it out into these buckets, gigantic blue buckets, and they mix it with everything from gasoline and dye and all these products that eventually get made into this powder. And so we are literally seeing the whole process. And as this is happening, we start hearing noises. And that's the moment that we knew. They were like, okay, so as long as it took us to come down that valley, it took us about half that time to go up because we were running out.
Yeah, I even look at a bag of cocaine, I start hearing shit, so I feel you there. I definitely. Anyway, carry on.
You could actually.
Was there a gift shop?
You could smell it.
I mean, in the air, you could kind of smell it.
You could smell the petrol. You could smell the whole thing. And a bunch of us were worried that we were going to get. I've been in fentanyl labs, and that's even worse, because there you can actually feel your body starting to like warm up. The physical. We were in an enclosed fentanyl lab in Sinaloa, Mexico, where the chemists, we're actually using like hazmat suits and masks because we're an American crew. Meanwhile, these guys have like a bandana around their face, and they're touching the powder. And he's telling me, I was like, how do you know when it's ready? And he's saying, because I can feel it. My heart starts beating really fast. And that's when I know the fentanyl is ready. It's insane. You should watch that episode.
Oh, that's crazy.
Really crazy.
And that was last season?
That was actually season 1. We did a first season at fentanyl. But then just to finish the cocaine, because it's so fascinating.
Yeah, for sure.
How it gets out of this valley, this region. We then spent the night with these kids, 16, 17-year-old kids who are backpacking and taking these 20, 30 pounds of cocaine or 20-something kilos of cocaine on their backs for days on end, for a whole week in the middle of, really rough terrain, seeing some of their friends being killed in front of them by rival groups. One of the ones I interviewed, I will never forget this interview. It sort of very much changed the show. This interview that I did with him is the second episode we ever did of Trafficked, and it was. I'm talking to this kid. I'm asking like, why do you do this? I mean, you've seen friends being killed. It's backbreaking work. They get insects all over. They're sleeping out in the open for days. It's just horrible, terrible conditions. And he's saying, look, I've always wanted to go to college and I want to be a dentist. And my family is super, super poor, and they're never going to be able to afford my education. And so this is the only job that's afforded to me. I do this once a month and I get X amount of money, and I'm saving that money to one day become a dentist. I thought, and dentist is an interesting, why dentist, right? You hear lawyer, you hear doctor, you don't hear dentist. And he says, because there's a lot of ads for dentists in my town and they all show people with a big smile, and I want to make people smile and I want to make them happy.
Oh.
And so it's stories like this. And I seriously started hearing more and more stories like this that I was like, okay, I think this is the message of the show. Yes, it's a dangerous world. We should be careful. We should explain and shine a light in these underworlds. But ultimately, I think the message of the show is that this could happen to any of us.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're born, it's like the wheel of history turns, and where and when you're born determines whether you get lifted or crushed by it, right? And that's the idea, I think, behind the show, and so much of what I've learned.
Got to let you know, today's episode is sponsored by Acorns. Acorns is a financial wellness app. That's what it is. And I think it's my